My wife divorced me for her rich boss and was pregnant within 1 month of dating. She later found out that I was about to get a huge inheritance. Now she suddenly wants to have my name in her baby's birth certificate so all of her kids can have the same last name. She was shocked when I didn't fall for her actions and laughed at her. So, here's the deal. My ex-wife, 32, female, and I, 35, male, got divorced about 6 months ago. Within a month of that, she was pregnant. My ex-wife, let's call her Olivia, and I had been together for 3 years and married for a year and a half when she told me that she had been having an affair with her boss, let's call him Samuel, 42, male, for a couple of months. We have a 1-year-old son together, and when she told me about the affair, I was still trying to process it. But she already had the divorce papers and everything ready because her boss had told her that he was ready to marry her. So far, the only reason she had been holding out was because she wasn't sure if Samuel was ready to commit to her. But as soon as she had some sort of commitment from him, she decided to dump me and the kid and take off with him. The divorce was relatively straightforward because I wanted full custody of our son, and I got it. She didn't even bother to fight for it, nor did she fight for anything else. I got everything that we had, and it made sense because now that she had Samuel, she was rich enough to have the kind of lifestyle she wanted. After the divorce was over, I didn't hear from her until recently, although I had heard from a couple of common friends that she had announced her pregnancy just a couple of weeks after our divorce was finalized. I don't know exactly how many months along she is, and neither does that make any difference to me since she's out of my life for good. The divorce had been tough for me emotionally because, unlike her, I was actually in love with her and thought we had something real in the 3 years we had been together. I had always noticed that she had a bit of a materialistic streak, but I honestly never thought that it would come in the way of our relationship at any point. I've been doing pretty well for myself since I am an oncologist, but I can't deny that Samuel is a lot richer than me since he owns the company that my wife used to work in. Even though they had grown pretty close since she started working there, I had never felt threatened by him because I always thought they were very good friends. I was always quite secure about our relationship because I believed that Olivia loved me as much as I loved her. Clearly, I was mistaken, because if that had been the case, she wouldn't have found it so easy to dump me and leave. I can still understand finding it easy to leave me, but how somebody can give birth to a kid and then just abandon them makes no sense to me. She didn't bother to check up on how our son was doing even after this divorce, and that made it much easier for me to hate her because that's what she deserves. When she left me, she tried to tell me that the reason she was leaving was because I never had any time for her, unlike Samuel, who was always there for her. It's not that simple for me, though. I know that the real reason she was leaving was because he was much richer than me, but when I brought it up with her, she started saying bad things to me and acted like I was a terrible person for even implying that, even if it was the truth. But anyway, the reason she reached out to me recently was also something to do with money, and it just proved me right. Recently, I've been named the sole heir to my uncle's fortune. For context, my uncle was a businessman who built a fortune for himself in real estate and owns one of the largest real estate companies in the state. He never married and never had any kids of his own, but we were pretty close. He adored me, and I knew that, but I still hadn't expected him to name me the sole heir to everything he owned. Everything is still being evaluated, but I know for a fact that I'm looking at an estate worth more than $2 million, and I haven't even started to think about how much his assets are worth. He left the company to me as well, but I'm honestly not interested in running it. Luckily, he also left instructions to me in case I did not want to run the company, and so, according to him, I have appointed his CFO as the current CEO so the company keeps running smoothly. But I'm still going to benefit from whatever he makes from the company, so I can easily just retire right now. However, I'm still going to continue working because I love the work that I do, and with all the money that I have right now, I can even give back to society in much bigger ways. But that's enough about my noble plans. Let's talk about Olivia's not so noble ones. Last week, I told a couple of my friends about my inheritance over dinner and drinks. All of them were pretty surprised, but most of them seemed happy for me. But I guess one of them was not happy because somebody snitched and told Olivia about it. That's how she found out, and the next day, she showed up at my house and said that she needed to talk to me. She was heavily pregnant, and I was about to tell her to go away, but I had a gut feeling that I would want to hear her out. So I decided to let her in because she was back after almost 6 months of the divorce, and I guess it had to be something important that brought her here. However, at the time when I invited her in, I had no idea that she knew about my inheritance. Anyway, she tried to make some small talk with me, but I was really not interested, so I just restricted myself to one-word replies. Then she congratulated me on the inheritance, which was her first mistake. I was a bit surprised that she had been able to find out about it, but I figured that maybe one of my friends ratted me out. So I didn't say anything and just thanked her. She then asked about our son and how he was doing, and that really upset me because for the past 6 months, she had pretended that she didn't even have a kid. Now, all of a sudden, she had a conscience and wanted to know how her kid was doing. I ended up snapping, and I'm pretty thankful that my son was not at home at the time. He was with my parents because otherwise, he would have heard the way I spoke to his mother. I don't regret it, though, since she totally deserves it. Anyway, when she asked about our son, I just told her to get to the point because I knew that she was here with some purpose and not just to make small talk and ask about things that she didn't even care about. I was getting really impatient, and she could see that, so she decided to get to the point and told me that she was here to discuss the new addition to our family. Obviously, I was very confused because I had assumed that she was pregnant with her boss's baby and not mine. She had been pretty sure about it back when we were separating, and I was so emotionally distraught about so many things that I didn't even question it. In any case, even if the baby was mine, I knew that one paternity test after the baby was born would let me know, and I would deal with that when it happened. But as long as she was pregnant, it was better that Samuel dealt with her because I didn't want anything to do with her unless the baby was mine. It sounds mean, but that's how it was, and I didn't think she would care about it either because she was pretty confident that the baby was Samuel's. Anyway, I was quite shocked when she referred to the baby as the new addition to our family because I didn't know if that was a fact or not. So I first decided to ask her if she was sure about the paternity, and if the baby was not mine, I had no interest in speaking to her anymore. But instead of taking the hint, she told me that she hadn't conducted a paternity test yet but would do so if that's what I wanted. However, regardless of who the biological father of the baby was, she believed that since she was still married to me when the baby was conceived, I had an equal right to the child as well. We hadn't discussed this earlier, but she thought it was about time that we did, since she was just a couple of weeks away from giving birth. Then she dropped a surprise on me and told me that she wanted my name on the baby's birth certificate as the father because she believed that it would be better for both her kids to have the same last name.